Commission on Utilities. We only have one agenda item. It's consideration of pay adjustments following the evaluations of our GPA Chief Financial Officer, GPWA Chief Financial Officer, or GPA General Counsel, CCU Board Secretary, and GPA General Manager and GPWA General Manager. Okay, that's the order we're going to go in. And just as a little bit of background, I got something right and I got something wrong, of course. But I had asked our HR people to review and give us some information, which I just passed out again, the corrected version this morning. By the way, our general manager for the GPA also gave us something that you can read. But let me explain. I asked them to, when was the last time that they had, when they were hired, what salary adjustments have they had, okay? And one of the other things I asked, and I got it wrong, I thought that the pay adjustments for our rank and file employees were 1%, 2%, 3%. In other words, and Zena told me, no, I didn't hear them correctly. It's 2%, 3%, 4%.
These are the pay
based on
the pay for
Based on the pay for performance. So when they get a performance evaluation and they get an adjustment, their adjustment range is 2%, 3%, 4%. Okay? And
that's exceptional on whatever class.
that's satisfactory, I guess above satisfactory, and then outstanding. Yeah.
And Mr. Chair, that is based on the current GPA employee policies or by statute?
Zena?
It's based on the revised pay for performance policy that was implemented in 2017 for pay for performance for GPWA employees. So the way it works is 2%.
I think you need to come up to the microphone and...
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
By the way, when she says this, they both concur. John Ray is here from GPA's HR.
So he should probably come up here too and make sure that it's on record.
Yeah, there's another microphone there for you, John Ray. Okay.
So GPWA.
So just real quick, just state your name and your position for the record, and then we can go into it.
My name is Zena Pangilinan Charfras, Personnel Services Administrator for the Guam Water Works Authority.
My name is John Ray Agagi, Acting Personnel Service Administrator for GPA.
So in 2017, we, via resolution, the board approved the revised pay for performance policy for both GPA and GWA. It was implemented in 2017 for FY 2017 pay for performance. And with that, the process would be that the scores, based on the raw scores of 234, a range of 234 to 300, which is considered satisfactory, the employee will be eligible for a 2% salary adjustment. 10% of the division's population with justification by the supervisor or by the evaluator would be eligible for 3%. 10% of that 3% or 10% of those that were eligible for 3% would have been eligible for 4% based on the justification of the evaluator approved by the general manager. So that's how our process is for pay for
And
performance.
for the commission's benefit, the reason why I did this, I went to the HR people to find out what they do, because in the past, we really haven't done this quite as well as we should have, but we're learning. This is a progress, okay? This is a process, rather. So we would then just say $4,000, $5,000. We would pull a number that we thought would be working. And so I thought, as we treat our rank and file, we would also treat our executive management team.
So the current policy talks to, does not refer to the executive management personnel, correct? It's just to the current, those rank and file employees that are under the management of the general manager, the CFO, the legal counsel, right? So the policy doesn't specifically identify those that the CCU is responsible for reviewing, correct?
No, it doesn't.
If I may,
ahead,
so,
Wait, sure. GWA first.
Sure.
Go ahead, Z.
So, the policy is also, can be applied to unclassified employees based on the percentage. So because the board has never put them on our pay scale, and it's also related to our pay schedule. So because previously when hiring, the general manager, the staff attorney, the assistant general managers, based on our Enabling Act, and the CFO, the board would be the one to, consider the compensation, and they use our pay
Well, not
scale.
for the assistant general managers, just for the general managers, the CFO, legal counsel, and the board secretary. So
Yes.
you had referenced the AGMs, but the CCU that is not within our responsibility. That's under the general manager's responsibility, right? So not the AGMs. That's not within the CCU's purview.
Right, we don't rate them or do anything with regards to their pay. However, I think you need to clarify, Zena, that they are unclassified, as are the general manager, the
Yes.
CFO, and everybody. So how would HR treat that? That's what we need to know.
The GM, the CFO.
No.
John, I think specific to the
Specifically,
AGM.
No, we're very clear, we're also very clear on the AGM that it's not the CCU's responsibilities, that's the general manager's responsibility.
Right.
So we don't want to be
Okay.
discussing what is not our responsibility.
Okay.
Okay.
So Commissioner
But I
Santos.
want to do just one thing, but the CCU can, through policy, for example, do pay adjustments based on the scale, right?
Yes.
Say we want to do for the assistant general managers a bump, or whatever we feel
Yes.
is within our policy-making authority.
Yes.
We can do that, right?
Yes.
Outside the, not within the framework of one law? Because we do our own compensation, right? For both GPA and GWA, correct?
Yes.
Trace?
Correct. So the assistant general managers under GWA's enabling legislation are unclassified employees.
Got it.
But only the general manager, the CFO, and legal counsel, the board may set the compensation for. So
Okay.
only those three positions.
For GWA.
But those employees are also unclassified. So
Yeah.
assistant general managers are mentioned in the enabling legislation, but it doesn't say anywhere that the board may set the compensation.
So who sets the compensation?
Well,
HR.
As unclassified employees.
The general manager.
These are subject to.
They serve at the pleasure of the GM.
Yeah, they're hired by the
That's
GMs,
correct.
right. So that's just
Here's
a,
a specific question of compensation. If the CCU, for example, wants to just specifically say upper level or executive management team, or we're gonna jump their percentile to the 50th percent or something, right? Is that within the scope of our policy-making authority?
okay, I believe it is.
Whichever one, yeah.
I believe it is.
Well, let's.
Okay, legal counsel?
So for the CFO, the GM, and legal counsel, it is clearly in the enabling legislation that the board may set the compensation.
Correct.
Okay.
I got that. And what about the next level of managers?
Assistant general manager. The only reference to assistant general managers in the enabling legislation states that they're classified employees. I can defer to HR.
No. It's because eventually, Therese, we have to come back to you, right?
I agree.
Yeah, so why don't, yeah, can I request then, Mr. Chairman, and just for clarity or for our purposes, get us a written legal opinion for both agencies with respect to that level.
Okay.
So we understand the scope of what we can do. I mean, I have always thought that the CCU, under our authority now, can set the compensation of the entire
policy for all the employees. So I just want clarity on that.
Okay. Commissioner Demchako.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that policy has already been set regarding the market percentile penetration for all employees, right? So I think that's already, so I
That's
think
a
you're
policy.
right. That's a policy that the CCU has the ability to adopt a resolution.
Right.
And I think that's already in
Been
place.
adopted, yeah.
But as far as what say we have in any of the other employees, I don't believe that we have that authority. We can set the policy for what that market percentile is, which I think you have already done in the past.
Yeah.
So that's set,
When's the
but
last time we did that? Last budget or the budget before that?
No.
For the employees, I think
Yeah.
it's on a regular basis.
Every year we try to jump up.
You know, for those that are eligible.
Right, okay.
Okay. Commissioner
Yeah,
Sanchez.
so, thank you, Mr. I mean, I believe, as Commissioner Demchako said, that, you know, we've set a policy for all employees except for the 6 or 7 that we directly hire that serve at our pleasure, which to me is the key word. You can fire them, you don't have to be nice to them, you don't do whatever, you can give them a raise. That's in fact, that's the purpose of today's meeting, is what do we wish to do with our, now that
Having
we've
done the
evaluated-
evaluation.
Now that we've evaluated our 7. And so, but I also, I mean, if we wanted to, we could say lineman 7 now get $25 an hour. I don't think we're prohibited by law to do that, but I don't know whether, but we've never tried to do that. We've taken a broader policy position that says, after we got the legislature, Senator Klitsky, Senator Brown, to introduce the certified technical professional law that allowed us to pay our professionals, certified professionals, on this other pay scale. And then we started the wage surveys back in 2008, and we update them periodically through Mr. Searle. And Alan Searle is now the HR guy for the port, the airport, and everyone has followed along in this law that allowed us to set a certified technical professional pay scale and pay scale policy. And then we use the studies of comparable utilities to say, because I believe, I think when that law was passed, GWA was at the average, was at the 5th percentile. I think even GPA was at the 5th or 7th. And we were losing people, particularly at GPA, we were losing linemen to Anaheim. And we recognize, you know, if you're going to pay people at the 5th percentile, you're not going to retain them, and that's what was happening. And so we adopted the law. We got the law passed. We've adopted policy saying let's do CTP based on wage surveys, and then we adopted an overall percentage. Let's try to move them to the 5th, the 7th, the 10th, and then we sort of left it to management. And then when they do the periodic reviews that are required by law, you know, and lineman number 3 gets a raise, he's now moving that whole line of, are we at the 5th percentile, the 7th percentile? And now we have collectively, as of today, and correct me if I'm wrong, at GWA, we are at what the employees are at what, on average, what is their average percentile that they're at?
Zena?
Right now,
Yes.
we are at the 20th market percentile.
20th on average, and where are we at GPA?
20th as well.
Okay, so since 2008, management, based on our policy, has, and the regular reviews of our CTP and other employees, they have moved that average pay scale from the 5th percentile in 2008 to the 20th percentile in 2021. And as Commissioner Santos pointed out, we've always talked about, we want to migrate that up over time, because our people deserve to be paid a competitive wage compared to comparable utilities elsewhere. So that is the policy. We could, I believe, although counsel could correct me if she disagrees, that, I mean, we could say, hey, we want lineman 3s to go to the 50th percentile or 9th, but we never have. Our policy is, you know, move the whole, let the tide rise for everybody, you know, and if you're already above the 20th, we don't back you down, but if you're below the 20th, we move you up, right? And that's how, and that's a policy piece, but I think by law, we could, we just never have.
I just want
I
to
wouldn't want to say, yeah.
I just want to clarify one thing. What we did, though, is we also, sometime back, included everybody in the CTP.
Yes.
So clerical staff, everybody's included in the CTP too, now.
Not originally, but now.
Because, you know, we made that policy call back a few years ago, okay? Just for information.
But not the 7 we hire by
Not the
another
7
law.
we hire.
Another
Okay.
law says we
Right.
can hire 7 people and we
Okay.
serve at our pleasure, and we can
Okay.
set their pay.
Okay, so Commissioner Chaco.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we already have policy that had set the 20 percentile, but that still doesn't account for the PFP, right? So you still have that pay for performance on an annual basis, right? So the managers of all the employees, they do their evaluations, however they rank in their evaluations. The applicable scale that you had referenced between the 2, 3, and 4%, that would apply to based on their evaluations, right? So as their annual reviews go up, that market penetration, that percentile will gradually rise past 20 percentile, continue to rise based on their performance, right?
Okay, correct.
Provided they either meet or exceeds expectation and warrant a pay increase, right?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the background in which I thought of just highlighting that if we wanted to use the same scale for our executive employees, we could use the 2%, 3%, 4%, that's all. As opposed to, in the past,
We could use any percent
we could use any percent.
based
but-
on their performance, right?
Yeah, we could, but I'm just saying, in the past, we really didn't have any uniformity. We picked one price for one group, one guy. One attorney could be here and one attorney could be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, if we want, we could look at that as a model and say, so that, and I'd like to highlight the case of our CFO, for example, for GPA. And that's why I had them give us some information. He's currently at between the 5th and the 10th percentile. Because since he was originally hired in 2015, he's never had an adjustment. We had an adjustment once, but that got taken away. So he's still at that percentile. John Ray, is there anybody else in the system that is at that percentile?
It's only the CFO.
It's only the CFO. So I just want to point that out, that the CFO is at between the 5th and the 10th percentile, where the rest of the company is at the 20th percentile. And I'd like that to be, acknowledged, and then, we can do whatever we want to do. And the rest, you can see some of them, like our attorney under GPA, for example, if you follow that, the attorney for GPA is between the 30th and the 35th percentile already, okay? Because of the pay raises we gave out in the past. He's been here longer, had more pay raises, okay? And, okay. So, could we start by discussing the GPA Chief Financial Officer and see if there's any desire to do something? Commissioner Santos,
I just
sure.
want to understand, we're going to do them one by one, right?
Yes,
Okay, fine.
yeah,
Okay, so I make a motion to discuss the pay adjustment for the CFO of Guam Power Authority, Mr. John Kim.
okay.
That's on this particular page, right?
You're right, that's on that particular page.
And so just,
A second.
Okay,
so discussion, so just to look at the scale that you presented, Mr. Chairman,
yeah,
the current pay is 136, I'm sorry, 135. Right, present?
yes, correct, John
And
Ray?
the recommendation, if there's a 1% pay adjustment, would be up to 136. And then a 2% pay adjustment will be a total of 137,000. Are those the presentations, that's how you read them,
Yes,
based on 1 and 2?
yes, based on his current pay.
Right.
But the other thing I wanted to highlight is if you put him at the 20th percentile,
I saw that noted there.
yeah,
Right.
okay,
And that will be at 141,000.
yes.
Now, is there any reason why it's 1 and 2% as opposed to?
Oh, that was just my mistake.
Okay.
I meant to do two, I didn't hear them.
So let's calculate it at 2, 3, and 4% right
Yes,
now.
yeah.
Somebody want to do the math on that?
John Ray,
Let them do that.
John Ray's the GPA guy.
To clarify, are we doing 2% from the current?
From the current pay.
John Ray, we'd like to see it at 2, 3, and 4%. Okay, because that's the current pay for performance scales, right?
Yes.
And, Mr. Chairman? just
Yes,
after-
Commissioner.
While they're doing the calculation afterwards, can we at least, for the record, summarize the performance of
Sure.
Mr. Kim? That
Of course.
he allowed to be released?
Sure.
Because as always,
It's
to me,
posted
you
on
wanna
our
link
website.
Any change, if granted, to their performance. And while we've released this publicly, this is the real first public meeting in a very good process that
Sure.
we've adopted, where at least we want to say for Mr. Kim, I believe he had a rating of 3 point, well, first off, I wanted to say this, if it's allowed. I've been listening to some of the, talk, and I've been asked this same question. There's a perception that I think all of our senior managers were at 3.5, 3.8, right? Just below 4, right? And we set a very high bar, and I think of it a lot like when you're going to college or high school. If you got a 4, you're an A student. A 4.0 is an A student. A 5 is a, exceeding A student. And I heard some of the commentary, a 3.8, they're just satisfactory. That isn't our criteria. A 3.8 to me is like an A minus,
Right.
Not a B or C, right?
Right.
And so, just for the record, if you're rated a 5, you are rated that you are significantly exceeding expectation or outstanding. If you're rated a 4, you exceed expectations above satisfactory. Because I think even the media reports are saying, well, you're just satisfactory. No,
Right.
If you're at 4, you're above satisfactory, exceeds expectation, and I think almost all of them are at 3.8, 3.9, 3.7. Level 3 is meets expectations and satisfactory. So all of our management are well above 3, and some are very close to 4 and just a notch below. So the overall review of the 6 we were allowed to release is above 3.5, 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, and we'll go over them individually to repeat that. Mr. Kim is at 3.8, I believe.
That's
was the
correct.
Summary.
Mr. Kim was, and these are the summary results that that Mr. Kim has allowed us to publish. They're on the website.
They're on the website.
But the final summary rating for the CFO, John Kim, was for Section A, was a 2.6 weighted score, and Section B of his evaluation was 1.2, for a total evaluation score of 3.8.
Commissioner, can you summarize what Section A was, what was it about? What he was, when he got that score, what is that general skill set? Or if
Sure.
there's a way to think about that?
So Section A are the KPIs that account for such things as Section 1.0, which is managing operations, Section 2.0, which is managing financing and accounting, Section 3.0 is managing people, and Section 4.0 is managing information. So of all the operational related things, kind of like direct tasks that the CFO is responsible for, he scored a summary rating, and we need to be careful because what was agreed to be disclosed was the summary.
Summary, yes.
So I'm not going to go into the individual details, but those are the details of Section A,
Right.
whereas Section B is more of the quality type of areas of his performance, such as 1.0, which is strategic perspective, 2.0, which is building teams, 3.0, his communication performance, 4.0, his ability to research information, 5.0, his achievement focus, and 6.0, his judgment. And that summary rating for his Section B for those, and his weighted score is 1.2. So a total evaluation score of 3.8, which is just below exceeds expectations, so definitely above satisfactory.
Yeah. And I just like to add on to this. The level of people that we're trying to attract and retain are the kind of people that are thinking out of the box. And we've never given John Kim did something for us. Before John Kim came to our service, we were considering, for example, charging a convenience fee for people who wanted to use their credit card. And we found a way to not do that, as the rest of the government does. They charge a convenience fee. We don't. We just allow people to use a credit card. And over the years, he's graduated us to where even businesses now can use their credit
I
cards.
think even GPWA was able to.
Yeah, and
Piggyback on that
because
thing.
they piggybacked on the same thing. So,
That was a very important problem.
that was a very important thing, and that's why I thought it important that we highlight that he's still stuck at the 5th to 10th percentile, while the rest of the companies at the 20th percentile. So that's where that comes from.
Let's go back. Can you give us the rating on that, John?
Sure. So, as indicated on your form, a 2% for Mr. Kim would be 137,745. That's placing them on our CTP pay scale. After that, it will be, again, that's at R3D.
That's the 2%. What's the 3%?
Sure. It'll be R4A 139,123, 66.89 per hour. And then the 4% will be R4B 145,14. That's 67.55 per hour.
Do you have the percentile that would move them to? Even just the 3 or the 4, just for,
So with the 3 or the 4,
he's between now, for the record, he's between the 5th and the 10th percentile, even though all the other employees of GPA are at the 20th. Okay. And he has not had an adjustment since
he was
October-
hired.
Since 2015, when he was first hired, and his base salary currently is $135,000, correct?
correct. So if with the 4%, he'll still be at the 15th percentile.
What's the 4% again, John Ray?
4% will be R,
$7,000. About 7 or 8 grand.
145,
Is-
146?
7 or 8 grand. something like
That doesn't seem to coincide with the
With-
comment.
What happened to down at the bottom?
Yeah.
It's-
So that's 20%.
All I know,
Yeah.
This only takes him to 15,
correct.
4% based on his current.
would only take him to the 15th.
I thought I thought you said at the 4%, his salary would be 145.
So with the percentile, the reason why they're between, there's a minimum and a maximum,
Good.
That's the max?
and that will be the max.
Okay.
Okay.
So for the other two, just for clarity, for the other two, 2% and 3%, the 137 is the maximum and not the minimum?
Sorry,
Or
Rich.
between, if you go up to the pay scale here, you read it, right, the way you did it, between the
Correct.
5th and 10th percentile, it's 133 to 149. So if your reading of the 2%, the number that you gave us at 137 represents the maximum you can get, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The same for the 3%.
What do you mean by maximum?
The range, it's the range there, sir?
Right, but
Between the 5th and the 10th?
I'm following you where we're seeing between 134 and 141.5 is the 5th to 10th percentile. 4% of 135 is $7,000. That would move him to 142. So that would move him to slightly above the 10th percentile. Am I reading that correctly?
To clarify, so the 5th market percentile starts at 131,060. The max range will be 136,382. Then on the 10th market percentile, it starts at 135,031 at the minimum range to 145,14. Okay.
So John Ray, when you, on the one that you highlighted on the bottom to slot him at the 20th percentile, it's 141, that's the minimum.
That
of
is the minimum.
20th percentile.
Correct.
Okay?
Of the 20th.
Of the 20th
What is the
percentile.
maximum of the 10th?
Yeah, the maximum of the 10th is higher, but that's how everybody keeps my grading.
Right.
But, so that's different things that we can consider,
Two things to consider.
yeah. So,
I mean, is that how we want to carve it out, Mr. Chairman?
well,
We're wanting
I'm,
to migrate the employees, obviously, so we
Right.
can get that.
along with the rest of the company. I think that's
Yeah,
important.
and then the second question that correlates to that is the percentage of the increase that we want to give Mr. Kemp
Yes,
to coincide with the 20%.
yeah.
I would make, on my motion, I will amend the motion because we're not discussing it, to bring Mr. Kemp up to the 20th percentile. Okay, not discussing minimum or maximum, just to bring his salary scale up. Because now he's only at the,
What would that
50
number
then.
be?
no.
The number would be the
next
one
question,
on the
right?
bottom.
Because we have to decide, Commissioner Sanchez, whether we give him the minimum, the maximum, or something in between. Right,
Well-
because that's the range we can work with, right?
So, John Ray, just for clarity, make sure we're straight, the bottom number, 141,919, or $68.23 per hour, that would be the minimum of the 20th percentile.
That is correct.
Okay,
I'm sorry, the minimum for the, so in
For the
in gross
20th.
annual salary, the minimum for the 20th is what number? 141?
141.
the one on the bottom.
Okay.
So at least, we catch him up, and then as we go forward, then we can do further.
So I guess the question we have before the commissioners is, do we agree that we want to bring them up to coincide with everybody else to the 20 percentile?
Yeah.
That's my first question. And I put that before the body, and that would be my motion to place Mr. Kim in that range of the 20 percentile, and then the subsequent question will be, okay, what pay do you want to give him?
I second the motion to bring the CFO up to this 20th percentile. It should be, we should move towards consistency.
Yes, yes, I agree. Okay, so that's a second to that motion?
Mhm.
Okay, further discussion? Or
Go for the vote, Mr.
ready to vote? All those in favor signify, oh, okay, I'm
Just
sorry.
want to clarify what we're voting on. We're voting on, we haven't discussed what that salary is,
This
but,
is just to
so it's just for just for the CFO to the 20th percentile? Okay.
Yeah.
take it to the 20%.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Okay, so 4 ayes and 1 no. Okay, any further discussion?
They said, you're done, right? You voted, 4-1.
Do you need a number?
Well, we
now
need a
within-
number.
Within
No,
that
now my
area?
next question is, given that we can, now we're working in a range, John Ray, it's 141, what's the minimum, what's the high?
147,682, that's $71 an hour. R5C.
Okay, and
And
what's
then the in-between is what?
the in-between?
Sure. So again, starting at R4C, the
Yeah.
141,919. The next one is R4D, 143,339, that's 6891. R5A, 144,772, 6960 per hour. R4B, 146,220, 70.30. And then the max, 147,682, $71 an hour.
Okay, so those are the ranges. Would somebody like to make a motion to pick a specific number?
Try to do the math.
Okay.
I don't have, Mr. Chair, I don't have any documents to capture the votes like we normally do.
Oh.
Documentation, so, do we have the board secretary prepare something so that we can?
Sign off on?
Yeah.
Yes. So we need you to prepare something that says, on this meeting, the board decided to...
Normally, we do that with resolutions. Is it required for us to do that in this type of setting?
No,
No, I mean, we passed the motion, we
Yeah,
voted.
that's
fine.
I think you're okay.
I think you're
I mean,
okay.
council got, I mean, we adopted, we called a meeting and we passed the motion.
It's open session, so, yeah.
Open session.
Which we'll do anyway when we.
When we finish-
do
When you
the,
inform them anyway.
Yeah.
when we finish the meeting, then we'll
The
ratify
chair can
that.
sign that.
Yeah, and
Yeah, that's
I'll
simple
sign
letter.
off and say,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
the
Decision of the.
decision of the commission. So is there a number? Do you want to go with the bottom number, the 141? Do you want to do the 143? What, the numbers again, John Ray, real quick?
Sure.
140.
141,919,6823, that's the minimum.
Okay.
The next one is R4D, 143,339, 6891 per hour. R5A, 144,772,000, 6960 per hour. R5B, 146,220, 7030 per hour. And the maximum is 147,682, $71 an hour.
Okay. There's the range.
Just a couple of comments,
Sure,
Mr. Chair. With all due respect to the prior commissions, this process was handled very poorly in the past.
Yes.
And we've worked really hard to make sure that we do it correctly by establishing the rules of engagement with our
Yes.
rules and regulations.
Yes.
We've implemented the correct annual reviews.
Yes.
We've met with the employees to provide expectations, what we
Right.
call the meet and agree, to make sure that everybody understands what is expected of them,
Yes.
and that they're rated against, at the end of the year, how they did against those expectations. So, fixing it is going to take some time. We can't just make leaps and bounds.
Sure.
We need
No
to
problem.
make sure that we're good stewards of the ratepayers' monies
Sure.
here, but we also need to make sure that we keep
Retain
our
our people.
employees, and
Yeah.
but we got to do it right.
Sure.
And so I just want to make sure that, we continue following the rules and we continue doing it the right way so that we can, streamline the process and just make it very consistent.
Okay.
So, I feel comfortable with the vote of moving these employees to the 20th percentile so that we could just make sure that we do it right. We don't want to have, pay taken away because we did it the wrong way
Yes.
going forward.
Yes. So Is there a specific number?
So my motion would be to start, the CFO base his 20th percentile on the base, the lower,
141.
the lower section of the,
919.
right, and then going forward, we follow the pay for performance requirements that are already in the policies.
Sure.
And we make it consistent with that, and we just
I agree.
make sure we do our job right.
Is there,
We'll
that's a
second the
motion? Second?
Commissioner Untitled,
Okay.
to take Mr. Kim's existing salary
To
to the minimum level
of
of
the
the
20
25th percentile.
The 141.
141,919.
Yeah. Okay.
Second?
Yeah, he seconded,
Oh,
Okay. Any further discussion? No?
Nope.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
No.
One no vote, 4. Okay, now, the next one on our list is the CFO for our GWA.
So we're gonna jump back and forth between
Yeah.
utilities,
Like
or
stable titles, no.
you're just going with
Stating
the
titles.
CFOs? Okay.
I thought I'd do with CFOs, then, because we only have really one general counsel to talk about, because our GWA general counsel is not yet on the list. Then the board secretary and the 2 general managers. I put the 2 general managers on the list because, I anticipate that people will recuse themselves. So that way, those people will fall off. Okay?
Don't hurt yourself.
No, don't hurt yourself.
Yeah, you get this.
You get that for, okay, so we're now on the other page. And so,
We're still with Ms. Titano, Tully?
We're not,
Yeah.
no.
Tully.
Thank you.
Okay, so, Zena. Tulling is what percentile is she at right now?
She's between the 20th market percentile and the 25th.
Okay,
And
So will we hire?
let's just clarify, the high is the 138, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the high of the 25th?
The higher the 20th, the higher the 25th.
The minimum of the 25th. Based on.
Minimum of the 25th percentile. Okay. And she's close to that. So she's somewhere in the 24th.
Yeah, she's.
Okay.
Commissioner Sanchez, you have a
Yes,
question?
Mr. And again, for the record, Talling has done a great job for us, and she was rated, and correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Limtiaco, 3.7.
Okay.
Mr. Kim was 3.8, Talling was 3.7, again, just below an A, basically,
Okay.
kind of like an A.
Overall rating, right?
Her overall rating, which she agreed to allow to be released, as Mr. Kim
And it's
did.
posted on our website.
And it's on the website, it's publicly available, and now publicly being discussed. Well, her rating was 3.7. To me, in layperson's term, to me, it's like an A minus, all right, just below a 4.0, all right, and she's done a great job, as Mr. Kim has also done.
Okay, so, Zena, what would be a 2%, a 3%, and a 4%?
So a 2% rate adjustment will taper to R4B, which is 140514.
And that's the minimum.
Yes,
That's the 2%.
that's a 2% from where she's currently at.
Okay.
Wait, what do you mean by minimum? The 20,
There's
That
no,
stays within the percentiles, right? We're still working 20 to 25.
right, which is 135 to 138,
So
so,
if we bump her up to R4B with the 2%, she'll be between the 25th and the 30th.
and how
She
about,
crosses line over into the 25th.
Okay.
and on the 1%, is she above the 25th? At least based on this.
Oh, she's already-
1%, she'll still, or she'll be
below.
between the 25th and the 30th.
yeah, she'll be above.
Yeah,
She'll be above
because the
this.
max on the 25th is 138.
Yes.
And she's currently at 137.
Yeah. So, if you did the 2% again, it would be,
140.
140514.
okay,
3% is
3% is 141919.
okay. Okay, so now that we've established the process, now that we're using, is there a motion on the floor?
Motion for,
For.
yeah,
any
okay.
decisions?
I'll refer back to what I commented on otherwise, right, so the goal is to move people to the 20th percentile. So, at present, Talling, the GWA CFO is at the lower end of the 25th percentile. So, any consideration of applying 1 through 4% of an increase would push her past the, or further into the 25th percentile, right?
Further into the
Above it.
20th.
It'll
Heading
take
towards-
Above the 25th.
Take her
then.
above the
Heading
25th.
towards the 25th.
No, above it,
It
because
would
the
be above.
25th max is 138, 1% is 139, 2% is 140.
Yeah.
She's already near the 25th. If you give her a raise, you take her out of the you take her above the 25th, if I'm
Is
reading
that
this
correct,
correctly.
Zena?
Right?
Yes.
138 is the max at 25th, 1% is 139, a 2% is 140, a 3 or 4 would be higher. 139 and above is above the 25th percentile. Am I understanding that correctly?
Is that correct, Zena?
Correct.
Huh?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. So what's the pleasure?
I'll make a motion to take Ms. Tully to 14514, which is 2% rating, which will take her out of the scale, but as I understand, we decide. The pleasure of this body is to decide on the 7
Yes.
that report to us directly.
Yes.
And that is our duty and responsibility.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So my motion is to increase, based on her overall rating of 3.7, a warranted 2% salary adjustment to 140,515.
Is that correct, Zena?
Notwithstanding the fact that we're dealing with the percentile, which was my question earlier, do we have that authority outside
Yes.
our scope to decide compensation?
For these 7, yes.
Right.
They serve our pleasure.
Yeah, and what should be considered is the ease or the difficulty in recruiting for some of these positions, right? How easy is it for us to find, a general manager for a utility on Guam? You have a very small scale, you can go outside of Guam, but some of these positions they're very difficult, right?
Yeah, very difficult.
CFOs, also a difficult task to find good ones, but the field of eligible applicants is much larger than a GM, right?
Okay. So for clarity, the 2% would be what again, Zena?
It'll
We
be
want the record.
140,514.
140,514? Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's the motion. Is there a second to that motion? If there's no second?
It appears there's no second,
Okay, so
Mr.
the
Chair.
motion is dead.
I would like to discuss, though, whether or not we want to consider some sort of parity, right, between the positions, right, between the utilities. There's different scales right now. It looks like, the scale that's associated with the GPA somehow is different than the scale for GWA, where GWA's scale seems to, the current salaries that are in place seem to be on the higher penetration of the scales as opposed to GPA. So, if we're going to consider, any type of increase, right, do we want to discuss parity? Do we want our CFOs and our legal counsels, do we want them at the same range, or,
Okay.
do we want to talk about that?
Okay. Well, that's fine. If you do that, though, no, well, if we did raise her pay to the 140,514, she's in parity pretty much with the 140.
No, she's higher. She's higher than Mr. Kim.
She's
On the scale, on the penetration
No, but
percentile scale.
in terms of money,
You just raised Mr. Kim to 142, basically.
yeah, yeah,
So the real question, gentlemen,
okay.
there's 5 males here, okay? So be careful how you.
No, but,
No, because
yeah, yeah,
sir, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman,
yes,
Commissioner Chapo raised a very valid question. The question of parity today is, it's a slippery slope, Mr. Chairman.
okay.
I don't want Ms. Taino turning around and looking at me and saying, hey, you just gave the CFO and GPA, we just used the word parity. I mean, you might as well call it equity. And then you're even more a slippery slope. So the real issue, I guess, before us, I agree, Mr. Commissioner Chapo. Going down parity and equity, I'm all for that. There's a workforce that we're dealing with. that we have to face with as the board of directors of these corporations. And, you know, that word is very, very dangerous, in my opinion, too.
Well, just to be clear about the parity, I was just referring to the position, right? The CFO position. I wasn't referring to anything else.
The world we live in doesn't look at it that way, right?
Okay, so going back, is there a motion, or would anybody like to bring up a thought?
Well, just on the discussions, I
Sure.
mean, both CFOs are a 3.8 and a 3.7. So we have found their work to be excellent, right? Just an A-, just below 4. And the only comment I wanted to throw in, if there was a differential between Mr. Kim and Ms. Taitano, it's just Mr. Kim has been with us for 6+ years. Ms. Taitano's only been with us a few years, so if you value, longevity and, something, in many organizations, you start and you work your way up, and over time, your pay is adjusted. If it helps you think about, well, one's been with you for 6 years and one's been with you for 2 years, I agree the parity issue is important. But that was just one other variable I wanted to throw in there, is that, the CFO that you just raised has been with us 6 years, and Ms. Tolling's been with us 2 years, and if that's another variable you wish to consider.
And, I would point out that we did try to raise Mr. Kim earlier. We didn't follow the law, and, so that's why we've done a better job. We've now done 2 evaluations every year, This is the second evaluation. We've done it the right way. Nobody's complained. Nobody's questioned us, really. So, we're getting better. This is now just in terms of the actual adjustment, the money part. Because we're talking about the money part only in open session for the whole world to see. So, I would say that for me, and, I'm chairing the meeting, I usually just want everybody else to talk, but I would say that that proposal to do a 2% would put them kind of like on the same wavelength, 141, 140. It would acknowledge moving John Kim up, and I guess when we hired Tulling, what we did is we acknowledged the worth of the position, and we weren't able to make that adjustment for John Kim. So now that we're able to address it, I feel good about that. I would say that part of me would say, I would think that $140,000, a 2% increase would be a good thing. But, that's just, I just wanted that.
Mr. Chair, there's nothing that prevented you from seconding the motion or voting.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought,
When we're voting, Mr. Chair, you can.
Well, you definitely can vote.
okay, so if you'd like to remake the motion, please make the motion again. I thought that I was,
I'll make the motion again for a 2% salary adjustment for our CFO of GWA to a total of $140,514.
okay, I second that motion.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to make sure that we're not violating any, of our standing rules. Counsel, the chairman can second a motion? Because I always knew the chairman could vote, but I always was
Yeah, see, I was
curious
under
whether
that
he
impression.
he could make a motion or second a motion. And I don't want to lose your motion in case it's not properly seconded, right?
No, so,
Can the chairman second,
A motion.
propose a motion
He can vote
and or
on the
second a
motion.
motion?
Robert's rules.
And it was Commissioner Santos who made the motion.
I made the original motion.
Can the chairman second that motion?
It's dead.
well,
If I
Or
raise
someone
the
else would have to
question for
second it.
reconsideration,
Yeah, someone else would have to second it.
let's do it how we understand the legislation.
Well,
There's
maybe-
now a motion to reconsider, right?
Well, I'm
Go
with
ahead,
you.
Mr.
Yeah, I mean, if he can second it, then you're good. I just want to make sure that,
Yeah,
as
I don't have
Speaker
a
Ben
problem.
used to always do, I said, I may not be voting for it, but I want to make sure you do it right, right? So,
yeah, no.
Right, and that's.
I agree. I was under the impression too, Commissioner Sanchez, that I couldn't make a motion or
I mean,
second.
on a lot of boards, that's the way we've always, all our years.
But what is legally right?
So your understanding is you're not permitted to make the motion?
Well, I thought, that's been
That's
our
what we thought,
practice.
but-
That was our practice. Well, no,
Are both of those true? You might as well answer both. Can the chairman make a motion? And if he can't, okay, can he second a motion? I'm with you all the years I've been on board.
Our practice has
Chairman
been-
and administrators can't make a motion, but.
But what does
definitely
the
can-
what does the law allow? Okay,
Or else someone else just second the motion, we're not sure.
sure.
Okay, take a second.
Look, take a moment. This is important, you know, I'm going to tell you that I'm very happy that we as a commission are doing this better and better. So I think this process is one that's going to continue to improve. We have good commissioners who are looking at this seriously and realizing the weight of our decisions, you know, but with the eye of doing, you know, to me, we have to serve our constituency, which is first and foremost the ratepayer, but we also have a constituency in terms of our employees. We need them, okay, to serve the ratepayer. So that therein is the challenge that we face, and
Well, if we're going to do it right, Mr. Chair, then we need to revisit the policy that has been passed and the resolution that's been passed by the CCU regarding the market penetration. So,
yeah.
you know,
I
you can't be wishy-washy or flip back and forth between what percentile you're trying to get everybody to. And so if your goal is the 20th percentile, you either need to revisit that if you're going to consider anything over that, or, you know, you need to have a justification for anything above that, which is fine. And that's
Yeah.
what this discussion is for, right?
Yes, yes, and I don't have a problem with that. Commissioner
And
Sanchez.
just, you know, my personal view over all these many years, and I was involved with getting the CTP legislation actually passed.
Yeah, you were here in the beginning, I
Right.
wasn't.
So, you
You're the
know,
only
just trying to
one.
understand the, kind of the origins of it, right? And of course, like many of you, we've served, some of us have served in the legislature, but many of us have served on boards for many, many years, right? And I've always thought, at least at the general manager level, or as by this law, we know we have 7 people that we're directly responsible for their pay. We have the discretion to either put them into a system that applies to all employees, right? You know, move you up in this percentile, or we have in the past, and still have that option, you can always pay them, you can pay them whatever you want, just depend, because we may find, and the chairman and I talk about this, that we were looking at a Navy officer to assist us at GPA, just to be involved with generation.
Manager of generation.
And this was 6 or 7 years ago, right? And he wanted $190,000, which was more than the general manager of GPA was paying at the time. So there's an example of a professional value that is valued to us, but he was already asking for more than the general manager comes. So the idea of being competitive, you know, in that case, if we wanted to do it, we could have said, notwithstanding our policy of migrating all employees to the 20th or 25th or 50th, we're going to make an exception for employee X because of their skill set and the needs of the utility. And so I've always, my personal view is when it comes to the senior management we direct, we can, I appreciate that Commissioner Giaco gives us another way to think about it. We can just roll everybody into percentiles and say, boom. But I know when we get to the GMs, they're not at the 20th or 25th percentile.
Oh, yeah.
They're significantly above it. But in order to attract and find these very capable general managers, I would be hesitant to say everyone has to be at 20th when we already have some senior managers that we value, we highly rate, and I would hate to say, well, now you're stuck forever because you're at the 40th or 35th. And if we find, or our successors find a really good GM at the 55th percentile and they feel that's their discretion, that's why I would be hesitant to overly restrict the discretion of the board for those 7 positions only. But I'm glad that we think about it in discussing their pay relative to the rest of the company that the employees that they lead and co-work with. So, but I just throw that out as part of this discussion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Teresa?
Our standing rules refer to Robert Rules of Order.
Okay.
The 11th edition, and I'm pulling that up now. But in my opinion, I don't think that there's any problem with the chair seconding the motion. But,
Perfect.
I'm still confirming if you want me to confirm that within the Robert Rules of Order. So it's not within our standing rules.
what we refer to.
Yeah,
Robert's
The only thing I'm worried about is just making sure that we don't compromise any decision of the
Yes.
commission, right? And that's, I'm okay with your opinion, just that you got to be able to stand up for it if someone challenges this decision. Because currently, the chairman has seconded a motion, which is fine with me. I don't mind that flexibility.
What if it's the reverse? He makes a motion and I second.
Well, that was the other question. Can he make a motion at all?
I don't believe that the
I don't think
chair,
the chairman can make-
I think the chairman's only role is to facilitate the meetings. I don't think any of his rights as a commissioner to make any of the motions or to vote specifically or to second, I don't think any of those are restricted, but we should just confirm.
But as you know, in the legislature, the speaker would come off the
Yeah.
speaker, the
And
dais.
that could
He'd come down to the
happen.
floor and you'd have an acting chair, you know.
We can do
for-
that.
For that, I guess we could do that, or someone else could make the second, or if we're comfortable with council's initial view, and, you know, in fairness to her, we just asked her 5 minutes ago, that she thinks the chairman can participate in both, correct me if I'm wrong, he can second motions and he can make motions, is your initial thinking, council?
Yes, that is my initial thinking, so I am, looking at Robert Rules of Order, the 11th edition, and, section 5 governs seconding motions. So, based on my read of this, I don't think there's any issue with the chair seconding the motion.
Okay, good.
Mr. Chair, Madam Council,
Commissioner Martinez has a question.
Yes.
so what do you do if you have a tiebreaker? Or you tie, how
Wait.
do you break that?
Well, he can vote. The issue is only motions.
Yeah.
We've never said he can't vote. In
So
fact, I mean,
there's only 5 of us, so there
Yeah.
can't be a tie.
And that's the old thing, I mean, if the Speaker of the Legislature never had to vote on any bill just because he was Speaker, that's the old, I think I need to use the restroom trick, right? I mean, and we've been good as a board, we've never, hey, if we represent ratepayers, you stick your hand up or don't stick your hand up, and you're accountable to them, but, yeah, we thought about that, all of us, although, if the other logic prevailed, we'd all want to be chairman, at least for difficult issues.
Okay,
It is clear here from my read of this, and the chair can second the motion. The chair can also even initiate the body to second the motion. Is the motion seconded?
What is that? Well, that he can do, but someone,
That he
but,
can do. And
but if he does that, then can he raise his own hand and second it?
The chair can also even bypass the body, and he can proceed without waiting for anyone to second the motion, according to the.
That's Robert's rule.
Wow, doesn't even need a second. Well, that's interesting. So are you saying all motions don't need a second now? The chairman can just go on without a second? That's in.
well, I tell you what, for the purposes of our discussion.
Yeah, okay, we'll figure it out later.
We'll
Yeah.
figure that part
But
out
can
later.
you- yeah,
For the practice, I think we're comfortable that the chair can second a motion.
Okay.
Okay.
And then can council just, as Commissioner Santos always required, which I love, is
Put that
can we
in
just
writing.
put that in writing for our record?
Yeah,
and
not
we'll-
now, but
Yeah,
at a
not
later
now.
date.
We'll
Okay.
take your oral opinion. Thank you.
Okay, so now there is a motion that's seconded
Duly
before the
seconded.
commission. Further discussion? Any further discussion?
Do you want to repeat the amount?
Yeah. Commissioner Singh?
The amount is a 2% adjustment to a total of 140,514.
Okay.
And that, and just for clarification, that would put her at the 25th to 30th percentile range,
Right, above the 25th.
above the 25th.
Okay.
Call for the vote, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, no further discussion? All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Motion fails. No problem. Okay. So basically, there's no adjustment that we're going to do for the GWA CFO. Okay.
And just, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate that this last vote, yes, that's to raise the hand. The prior vote, you
I just asked for a
Just
vote.
what was
Voice,
the number
yeah.
of yes and no?
No, I.
Just for those that are watching it.
I
sometimes-
indicated in our prior motion, there were 4
Right.
ayes and 1 nay.
So
You
for this
were voted
motion, there
nay.
were, not a problem, just,
And this
just for those
motion- in
watching,
this
there were,
motion,
there were 3.
There are 2
Two ayes and 3 nays.
two ayes and
Okay.
3 nays.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
I mean, that should be clear.
Motion to go on 5-minute recess, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Before 10:30, so I gotta take a call. I'm gonna ask that we recess and come back. I mean, if this is the path we're going, guys, then we need to really discuss what we're gonna do.
the record? Okay, so the next person is the GPA General Counsel, and for the record, I will state that he did not agree to release his summary scores. Now, what's the pleasure of the Commissioner Sanchez? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, he is the only one of our 7 employees that we oversee that did not agree to release any information on his evaluation.
Right.
His
prerogative.
It's his prerogative, although I would disagree with the legal interpretation that releasing the personnel evaluations of an employee is an undue exposure of their privacy, which has been the basis for not only his opinion, other counsels we've had, even I think conflicts counsel have said that the releasing any information about someone's evaluation is a what's the right phrase? It's not undue invasion of privacy. It's the which would constitute an invasion of privacy, which really is. And when I think about that law, the way I interpret it is that we have the discretion to release it or not if we don't feel it's an undue invasion. And the employee could say, well, I'm going to sue you because you released my number and I think it's an invasion of my privacy. You know, and that's where you could have a judge opine one way or the other, right? But in this case, since our GPA legal counsel, Mr. Botha, did not want to release any information, what I always wrestle with is how can you adjust anyone's pay if you're not able to talk about their evaluation in public? We represent the ratepayers. They want to know, why do you hire these people? Why do you pay them this? But in this one case, we're not allowed to explain how we evaluated this employee, and which to me, as I think you rightfully pointed out publicly, one of the basis for our any changes in pay is the evaluation.
Yeah.
In this case, this employee has chosen not to release this information to the public, which is his right.
His right.
So as a result, Mr. Chairman, I move that we just not deal with any review.
All we have to do is ask if there's any motion, and if nobody wants to make a motion.
All right, so I won't even.
Yeah, let's approach it from the positive.
Okay.
Does anybody wish to make a motion to adjust the pay of the GPA legal counsel?
Mr. Chair, just real quick, maybe just some, we can go through the preliminaries on the current salary, the market penetration on the percentile, so we just know where.
For the record.
For the record, yeah.
No problem. I don't have a problem with that. Go ahead. You want to go ahead and read it, or do you want me to read it? Or do you want
We could
the
have,
HR people? Who would you like?
It doesn't matter to me.
Why don't you tell us where Mr. Botha is in terms of?
So Mr.
market
Botha is currently at 135,000. That's between the 30th and the 35th market percentile.
Okay, that's fine. Did everybody get that?
And GPA's percentile for the employees is at the 20th.
20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Everybody
he's
is-
well above the.
Yeah. For the record, John Ray, when you and Zena say that GPA and GWA's employees are at the 20th, you mean everybody has met the minimum of the 20th. They're in some range in between the 20th to the 25th.
That's correct.
Okay?
I'm
And some,
not sure you can say minimum. I think it's an average, right? Because you still have some a little below, some below, and they do that line. As I see Mr. Searle's
Yes.
regression line.
Yes.
Right, so sometimes some are still below, and those are the ones they try to bump up, but some are above, but the average, so when they,
Okay.
to me, when they say the average pay scale, the average pay for all of the line employees of Utility A is at the 25th percentile, that means on average, across all of them, they're at the 25th. It may mean some are at the 23rd and some are at the 28th, but I just wanted to make sure,
Okay,
for the
but-
record, that it doesn't mean everyone is at the 25th per se.
no, at the
Correct.
20th.
Or- Well, whatever
No,
that
no,
number is.
no. I just want clarity
Yes.
between the two HRs. So you mean that not everybody has at least hit the 20th percentile?
At the lower range of the
At the
20th?
lower range of the
It
20th?
should be, everybody is
It's-
at the lower range of the 20th.
Study in 2017,
Uh-huh.
yes, 2017, that brought everybody up to the 20th, so. when
Okay,
I
oh, so I
did-
stand corrected.
That- I just wanted to-
So everyone's there is no line employee that is currently being paid below the 20th percentile of
The minimum.
GPWA and the 25th percentile of
20th.
GPA?
20th.
20th?
20th.
Okay, both are 20th.
Both are the 20th.
Okay, thank you, I stand
No, no,
corrected.
no.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, in between that 20th to the 25th, they're
Right.
moving along, and some of them are,
And the market survey is dated, right? It's the
Right, we need
2017,
to-
right?
yeah.
So even if we kept our current policy as is on the 20th percentile, if we were to do a current market survey, that may change. Those ranges may change, and subsequently put maybe
Some-
the people that are at the lower range of the 20th below the 20th, right?
below the updated
Yeah.
20th.
So that's something that we
Yeah.
probably, as a
As a board,
board, need
yeah.
to consider making sure that if we're gonna do it and base it on a percentile penetration, then we need to make sure we're current with those surveys so
Okay.
that we're following the market, right? We can't use data from what is now 5 years ago
Okay.
to determine that range, right? So that would have sort of an inflationary path, right? And maybe
Sure.
that we can build that into our
process.
policy, right?
Yeah, on our policy and process.
Maybe there's a inflationary number. If we're gonna use a 2017 scale, maybe we need to do that in reference to that inflationary number, right? So it might be 1.5% of that survey year over year, so we can just make sure we're tracking and not basing it on, some data.
So, you know what,
dated
I would
information.
recommend we work on a resolution for one of our meetings where we direct the management of GPA and GWA to update the pay scale and to come up with exactly what you're talking about. Okay?
Or just do a new survey, but
just-
in that resolution to pursue a new survey, right? Then we make sure that we have some sort of what escalation clauses within that survey until a new survey is performed, right?
Okay, so, just a minute, Mr. Commissioner. Teresa, can I ask you, you've heard all of this, kind of try and work on putting together a resolution, and we'll put it up at one of our next meetings. I don't know if we'll be ready for this meeting. I don't think it's not going to be on our agenda, but probably for the March meeting, okay? And then we can discuss it, and, as with any resolution, we might want to change here or change there, so that's when we'll deal with that, okay? Now, Commissioner Sanchez.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and in light of this conversation, I don't recall in the past that the board said, this year, let's do a survey. So I'm just curious, we haven't done one since 17. Can you recall, was the last one triggered just management saying they want to do it? Or perhaps as we think about our policy, that, do we want to do it every 2
2
years?
years?
Every
Yeah,
1
yeah, no,
year?
I was thinking of that. So-
Or again, we can take it up at another meeting when.
That's what I'm saying.
This whole idea, to me, I still hear two pieces. We're comfortable with the CTP law and moving our people up as we have been doing. And then we have another law that says for 7 people, we can do whatever we want, basically. But I appreciate also that we're looking at what our 7, where they sit now or could sit if a raise is granted relative to their coworkers, right? And I appreciate that we have this information and that we're doing it. And just at a personal level, I've always wanted to reserve that no matter what our board policy might be for all employees, I like reserving the right of the commission. Just
With
maybe
regards to the executive.
7 that we hire. I'll give you a good example with Lou Sablon. When we first started, we had 2 board secretaries, one for GWA, one for GPA. And when you added up their salaries, it's significantly more than what Lou Sablon's being paid now for years. So we saw an opportunity to actually save money for ratepayers by asking Lou to handle both boards. All of us that have been on other boards, that board has their own, assistant, right? GBA and GWA had 2 at the time the CCU was created, but it evolved nicely. Lou was so capable that we said, let's combine it, but she has to handle 2 boards, and as a result, her pay, even at now, was significantly at a lower cost than having 2 separate secretaries. So there's an example where discretion of the board, I don't want to overly
no
limit
problem.
it.
We'll work on that when we do the resolution, Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay? Now, moving on, we've decided to pass over the general counsel for GPA. We're at the CCU board secretary.
And for the record, we're not doing counsel for GWA Teresa, because she just
She just joined us. She
Right, right. Yeah, just-
she hasn't been
not
here.
everybody knows everything.
For everybody's edification, it's, Therese will be
Review this.
evaluated in November of this year, okay? So,
So we're not skipping you over because
yeah, no,
we don't like you.
we like you.
We like you.
Okay, CCU Board Secretary.
What was her summary?
It's right there on the end. It's on the piece of paper?
Yeah, do we just want to review it again for the
4.2.
record?
Sure. No. So do you want me to review it, or? John Ray, could
Correct.
you review her, where she is?
Sure. So Ms. Sablon is currently at 72,012 between the 80th and 85th market percentile.
Okay. And John Ray, the other thing is, just a second, I remember both you and Zena were saying that when we do these movements, you're trying to slot them in the correct pay grade and step, right?
Correct.
So is this also one of those that is not quite slotted in the right pay grade and step?
That is correct.
So in other words, what that means is we picked a number before, which is okay. The commission started and did a lot of work and had a lot of pressing issues, okay? Court order projects and all those other things. So the only thing I'd like to present is that number of $72,012 is not really a specific step on a specific pay scale. If you put it on the pay grade, the step up would be $72,357. That would then be what pay grade and step, John Ray?
Sorry, I-18B would be 1%, 73,158.
Yeah.
Then with the 2%, it would be 73,889 at I-18C.
When you say,
That
when you
would
say,
be above the 85th percentile. But
Yeah.
but when you say it's not slotted correctly, what does that mean?
For all of our employees, including the executive team, there is a pay grade. John Ray, Zena, explain.
Correct. So we have a pay scale, and with the salary, there's no 72,012 on our pay scale. So they picked a number, and we, how we're doing it, we're basically getting the per hour and paying them that, and we created,
An
for the
anomaly.
system purpose, yes.
Yeah, but really, in the past, this is just because the CCU just picked a number. For example, when we get to the general managers, we just pulled a number.
But that's not, that's,
Just
you're
a minute.
done.
So what I'm saying is, what we should do is, when we pick a number, we should talk to HR, and that's why I wanted HR here. That basically we say, this is the number we're thinking, and they say, okay, the actual number is going to be 72,357 or 72, whatever that number is. And then we all agree and say, okay, that's the number. Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you able, again, one reason I brought up Ms. Sablon in particular, the origins of it were, we had one board secretary for GWA, we had one board secretary for GPA when I joined the CCU.
When you started the CCU.
And it evolved rather nicely that one of the board secretaries wanted to move to a different position. Ms. Sablon was available, and she was willing to take on not just the one board, but the two boards. And when we looked at the time at her pay, which hasn't been adjusted since 2016, is that right? Okay, or is it 2008, right? Is that, am I reading that right? Her pay hasn't been adjusted from 2008, right? 14 years ago. But to me, in fairness to her, we're not asking her to run one board. She's running two boards, right? And there's plenty of work. The Guam Airport Authority only has one board secretary. All right, so one of the questions I wanted to ask HR is, do you have the pay scale for the board secretary at the 20th or 25th percentile of one board? Because the logic at the time was, by asking her to do two boards, we had a qualified person who could do two boards, but it wasn't fair to pay her just for, as if she was doing one board. And when we added up the pay at the time, of the 2 board secretaries, and Ms. Sablan has agreed to work and do both boards, and it was for about 25,000 a year less than having 2 board secretaries.
Okay,
So
so
in fairness, when I look at this 80th to 85th percentile, it looks high if she's only running 1 board. So my question to HR is, do you by any chance have, where would be the 20th percentile
so-
for a board secretary? Do you have that information? Because in my mind, okay, if she was running 1 board, that would be a comparable pay scale. But if she's running 2 boards, then you're asking someone to take on more work. You need to pay for additional work. And it would be useful to me, at least in this discussion, to know, do you have the salary level for what if 70,000 is the 80th to 85th percentile, then what is the 20th percentile for a
Okay.
board secretary?
Can I ask, Zena, do you have a pay
that
scale
information?
for board secretary under GWA?
Or either one, 20th percentile?
Wait, no. Okay, did you need to, okay, this is good information, but I think what you need to do, Zena, is do research back to when there was a separate board secretary. And then, therefore, you could put in the 2 scales, because that's what I think Commissioner...
I don't think she needs to research what we
No.
paid. We just need to know, for a comparable size
No.
utility with 1 board, what does a board secretary for that 1 board make? Then to me, Mr. Chairman, then we go, okay, now what happens when you ask that same person to run 2 boards? Then to me, you're
And
doubling.
that's what I'm trying to tell
But
you.
I don't think it matters what we were paying
No.
in 2003 or 8 or 7.
I think it's important, maybe I'm not so clear. What I'm trying to say is exactly what you're saying, but I'm saying it from the perspective of, if you had a GPA board secretary, that's your range. If you had a GWA board secretary, what is your range? And then you can look at it and say, okay, at the 20, and that's why I'm asking Zena, do you have one? And she's indicating to me that she doesn't have one currently. And maybe when they did this mishmash and put it together, they decided to just cancel that board secretary because she's only being paid by GPA. So,
Well,
no,
I've explained to you,
Yeah,
it wasn't a
I-
mishmash. We made a conscious decision.
Yes, I get
That
it,
it
I
was cheaper
get
to
it.
have 1 board secretary and pay her a little more than to
Okay.
have 2 board secretaries,
And-
which was
and
more
to
than
do that,
paid.
okay, and to do that,
That
what,
it wasn't a mishmash. That was the actual policy call this.
okay, so then to do that, what you need to do is figure out what the board secretary position would be at GWA. Then you could say if you
And
put,
GPA.
well, GPA has it already.
Oh, what is it?
So at the 20th,
Yeah.
45,377, 2182 per hour.
Okay, so 45,000, all right?
45,000.
So if you took that same pay scale and said, now run 2 boards, arguably you could make a case for, well, if 1 board's 45,000, I don't see a significant difference in the other board. They're both very busy. You add those 2 together, you're at $90,000. Ms. Sablan is only at $70,000, $69,000, $70,000. 20,000 below what the market survey says it would cost to hire 2 board secretaries, right? And that's why, in fairness to Ms. Sablan, she appears to be at the 80th to 85th percentile, but she's really not there because she's not running 1 board. She's running 2 boards.
Okay,
So that, and the chairman asked the right question, right? If she was running just 1 board, we would pay, to be at the 20th percentile, we'd pay her about $45,000, right? But, so let's say we hired a totally different person to run the other board, we'd be paying $45,000. That's the $80,000 to $90,000. Same analysis we did when Ms. Sablan bravely took both boards. And so, in fairness to her, while the record on paper says 80th to 85th percentile, she's really paid more like, take that $35,000 is less than the 20th percentile for a board secretary working 1 job. Right? A board secretary
So
would normally get
I-
45. If you cut her pay in half, she'd be making 35.
Okay, so I agree with you, Commissioner Sanchez. I was just pointing out that they do not, the pay scale on GWA does not exist, that's all. Okay?
But at least you have it for GPA.
But GPA has for one,
Put it
and
in next
GPA is only paying for the board secretary completely. Okay, comes strictly from GPA.
But GWA reimburses GPA. That's my understanding.
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Well,
Well, we
that's-
can check on that. Okay, I think, so those are all good discussions. Now, before the board. Is there a motion on the floor?
Let me just ask, what was the 3%? I guess we worked out.
Sorry, so the
For-
1% would be at I-18B, and let me get you your 3%. So I-18B, again, 1%, 3517, 73,158,000 per annum. 2% is 73,889, 3552 per hour. 3% would be 74,628, 3588 per hour.
And for the record, her rating, her was a 4.2, is that correct, Commissioner? I think she's the only one that got above 4. Shows out what a great job she's doing.
I'll pull it up now.
That's what I think I'm seeing on the board. I show 4.2.
Yeah, so her summary, final summary rating for Section A was a weighted score of 3, and for Section B, 1.2, for a total evaluation score of 4.2,
Okay,
which is in the exceeds expectations category.
She's done an excellent job.
so the chair is open for a motion. You want to make a motion, Commissioner Sanchez? Oh, okay. No, I'm just saying. Okay. Is there any motion? Any second?
In consideration of us looking at that argument, or not argument, discussion that Commissioner Simon was saying about the dual role Mrs. does handle two CCUs or 2 meetings at a time. And based on what
Genre.
GPA at 20% now, is only showing 45. And if you were to take that 20% down to get up to 72, what would be that number? 25th to 26 or?
No, she's, the 70,000 is at the 80th to 85th, if you're only looking at one board. That's,
No, I understand, but the cross, the 45, so it went all the way up to 80?
Correct.
I mean, it goes all the way up to the 100th percentile. I mean, that's what, all of them work that way, right? If you wanted to pay your team the 100th percentile.
Well, you see,
But I think it's
actually though, Commissioner Sanchez, if you want to consider it that way, I mean, following your logic, she is being paid at double because she's getting,
Yeah, if you take the 30, that's exactly my point, you take the 36,
That's
you
your
double,
point.
she's
Okay.
there.
Okay,
And
got
but because this is public record,
Yeah.
I don't want folks saying, why is this one employee at the 80th to 85th percentile? when
That
it's
is very
It's a
true.
little
And-
artificial,
Yes.
because she has 2 jobs. And as Commissioner Martinez points out, if you take her 36,000 times 2, that's 72,000, that's where she's at now. She would at least be at the 20th percentile, is that correct?
for both.
When you say
Yeah.
36, you're dividing it by 2, is that correct, Commissioner?
No, I'm sorry, you said at the 20th it was 45,000.
45,000,
So
correct.
times 2 is 90,000, and she's only being paid 72,000 now. And she hasn't had a pay adjustment since 2008, right? Okay.
The board action that's notated on the summary here on May of 2016, this is the one that was rescinded, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so is this correct that the last time that she received a pay increase was her salary of 72,012 was from February of 2006 to present?
Is that correct,
So
John?
nothing since
I think it says
2006?
salary since 2008, that asterisk? Am I
Oh,
reading the right one?
okay, is it,
Yeah. It's a
That's what I was
salary
referring
since
to.
so there was board action in 2008?
Yeah, that took her to her current 72,012.
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if that's when she actually took over. I thought it was actually earlier.
No, earlier, but
she
that's the last
She was doing
adjustment.
such a good job.
That's the
but
last
her last
adjustment.
pay was 14 years ago.
So,
I see an asterisk, but the asterisk remarks on the bottom of the table refer to the CFO.
no, on her column, just look down. On her column, there's an asterisk, salary.
I know, but usually this asterisk, it has some other, it refers to an asterisk in the comments, right? So
Yeah.
the
Okay.
remarks are.
Okay, so, it really should have just said
Salary.
2008.
Yeah, it shouldn't have had.
Because the
2008.
effective
No
date,
asterisk, no asterisk.
it shouldn't be an
Yeah, the
asterisk.
asterisk doesn't apply to her.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so that's-
it's accurate to say she hasn't been,
Yeah.
had a pay increase since 2008.
So that's 14 years?
Yep.
Yeah. So. If there's no motion, we'll move on to the general manager of GPA. Okay. General manager of GPA. And these are not only posted, but we actually published the results. Okay.
Can we summarize his rating again,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record?
And by the way, are you, for the record, are you recusing yourself? on this?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wanted to bring that up,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
So,
So, Mr. Chair, in spite of the fact that I did not participate in the evaluations for both the GPA GM as well as the GWA General Manager, because of the relationship I have, Mr. Beneventi manages my wife, who is the Assistant General Manager, and Miguel Berdallo is my first cousin. I'd like the body to consider my recusal of the proceeding, not evaluations, but discussions on compensation.
no objection, you are recused. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving right along, we're now down to 3 commissioners. Mr. Beneventi again, one more time. And his rating was 3.7, I believe. Yep.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, motion on the floor, or? Okay. No motion. Moving right along to the GWA General Manager. Going once, going twice. No motion on the floor. Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead, Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, no, no.
Before we adjourn,
I asked for a motion to adjourn, you raised your hand. Second.
Not a problem, not a problem. Not a problem. No, I'm good. We're good.
So, motion to adjourn?
No, I just wanted to speak.
Okay, so if you want a motion to adjourn, you can make the motion.
Okay.
You want to make a motion to adjourn?
No, I want to hear what you...
Okay, sure.
Thank you,
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chairman.
Commissioner
Thank you,
Sanchez.
colleagues. As you know, I have not voted for any pay adjustment for any of our employees. And that was a very difficult decision for me, because when you look at the performance of our employees, all of them, they have done an outstanding job.
Couldn't agree more.
They have done it during a most difficult time, and for the sake of discussion, I mean, Lou hasn't had an adjustment since 08. The rest haven't had an adjustment since 15 or 16, 6 years. And if you look at GPA, Mr. Beneventi has managed through the loss of Cabras 3 and 4, affecting our ability to provide power to our people, and yet he and his team have kept the lights on. He negotiated a $120 million settlement to the benefit of the ratepayers that we're now using to reduce the cost of the new generator. And he's now dealing with another loss of capacity at Cabras, and we're trying to work with our legislature to get them to pass the laws we need that would reduce the cost of power for our ratepayers and allow us to move forward with the new generation. He was successful in getting that new generation bid out and awarded at a very good price. He was successful at getting the 3 solar farms that we've now contracted for that are now in construction or about to be in construction at excellent prices. He has done an excellent job. Mr. Kim, as the chairman pointed out, found out a way that the government of Guam has never figured out, other than the utilities, to allow our ratepayers to pay with credit cards at a reasonable fee to GPA so that we could allow them to use
their credit cards and not have to pay any fee.
And that benefit even went to GWA, right? And
And now it's benefiting our business customers.
and now it's been expanded to our business folks. Our financials are strong, our companies are strong, we're ready to go to the market. Mr. Kim is also deserving of something.
Sure.
Calling Taitano, we were so fortunate to get her from DOE, and in her short time here, she steady ship, very strong player, a very excellent work, right? Lou, I've been with her the longest, she's a saint, and she keeps us all straight, and she is also deserving. All of our employees are deserving of recognition. The problem is the timing of it. We have thousands of employees, either unemployed or working 2 days a week, 3 days a week. We had over 800 businesses apply for the latest assistance program from the government of Guam. To be eligible, those businesses still have to be at 50% less revenue, 50% of the revenue pre-COVID. So you got 800 companies that are still not making what they were. They're not even at 50% of pre-COVID. That's why they need the help from the LEAP program. The private sector is struggling to stay open, is struggling to pay their employees. I know in the private sector, when we talk about it, despite the performance of the companies, there's just, I'm not aware of many, but I can't say I pulled them all, but I don't hear that anyone's talking about a pay raise because of the uncertainty of COVID and what it creates, right? And by not voting for a raise, I'm asking our team to continue their good work on behalf of the ratepayers. I mean, some are already above the 20th, 25th percentile. Some need to get there, and I appreciate my colleagues have tried to get them there. And I recognize why my colleagues have voted for some increases in the ones that they did, and in some cases they did not. But my position has been not to, at this time, support a raise as deserving as they may be for the great work that they've done. Mr. Berdallo at GWA, the new sewer plant in Agate, the new one we're building up north, completing that court order. Both John and Miguel are operating with EPA court orders and successfully completing them. Contrast that to the solid waste that couldn't comply with court orders, that ended up hiring an outside group of receivers to run the trash company. And those 3 employees of the receiver were paid $2.4 million a year, far more than the top 10 employees of either GPA or GWA put together, including our senior management. We paid $2.4 million to 3 people to run our trash operation, while we ask our local homegrown team to work for far less to run a much larger, much more complicated systems. But they do it. They show up every day. Mr. Miguel is there early. Mr. B is there early. They all work late. They are deserving. But now is not the time to do it, only because the rest of our ratepayer base, they're still struggling. They still need help. They're not getting the hours. The LEAC just went up, and none of these pay raises would affect the base rate of GPA. It's so small, but I think it's just the perception as I talk to ratepayers. They're saying, hey, they're doing a good job, but they go, now's not the right time. And I'm sensitive to that as well. And that's really been the basis. As much as I hated to vote no against the excellent performance of our team, I couldn't do it today. I just feel that my vote reflects the perception that I'm hearing from ratepayers that I represent. It reflects the split feelings I have in my own heart, because these are excellent patriots of Guam that are working their butt off every day. But right now, I just can't see how we can give them a raise when everyone else is struggling. There's no raises at my companies. We're just sort of all in. We talk about we're in this together. And our management team has been in this without any hesitation. And I'm just asking them to hang in there. Let's go one more year. Keep doing your good job. Commissioner Martinez, you just showed us a picture of your latest granddaughter. And we talked about, why do we all work so hard? Why do we do this? Why do the chairman and I yell at each other and argue and this and that? Because we love this island. And we've hired great people that love this island. And they want to do something for your granddaughter, my grandkids, and his family. All right? We all want to do that. And that's why it's been a very difficult decision for us to take that. But I wanted to put on the record why I chose to vote no on every pay adjustment. It's not because I don't think they're doing a great job. They're doing a great job. It's not that I want to devalue their work or demean their work, because I don't want to do that at all. But when I look at the ratepayers that we represent, my sense of them, what I hear directly from them is, thank you for the great work our management team has done, but please not right now when so many are struggling. Just not right now. Let's hang in there one more year and let's see what happens. We get to do another review this year. We will be doing this again next year through this excellent process that the chairman and Commissioner Limtiaco have designed for us. And perhaps we can revisit it in a year when maybe things are better for the entire community. But that's the basis, Mr. Chair. I just want to get on the record as why I decided for all of them. You know, I didn't, my no vote was consistent, that despite their great work on behalf of our ratepayers, now's not the time to give them the adjustment, and I only ask that they just continue to be the good public servants that they are, continue to work as hard as they have, continue to produce the great results that they have produced and are producing. We have much more work to do, and they're the right group to lead us, but at this time, I couldn't support adjusting their pay as much as I wanted to, as grateful as I am for their work.
Okay, I'd like to also share my perspective, because I have to tell you, I understand where you're coming from, Commissioner Sanchez, but I have to tell you, the people of Guam, the service that they get from both GPA and GWA is essential. It's critical essential. And I don't mean to belittle any other agency in the government of Guam, not even the airport authority. But I'm going to tell you, I remember we discussed that when we had load shedding, people used to come up to you, I believe, and said, this is what you told me. I don't care what I pay, Simon, I want my power. Now, let me explain something to you. If you don't have power, you don't have water. If you don't have power, run to Home Depot, buy a generator. Go to MidPac, buy a generator. I have a generator. People have generators. You don't have water, you don't have anywhere to run to. You cannot find it unless you want to go to the river, take your 55-gallon drum and pick up the water. Water and power are critical, essential. I'm sorry. We may be all in the same boat, but if you don't have the boat, you're in the water. And I have to tell you, I personally would have voted for every pay raise for these people. And I'm glad that our general managers continue to move our rank and file employees up. We made a commitment. I was not here when we passed the resolution for CTP. I was not here when we established that the policy was we're moving to the 50th percentile. We're going to get there. And in the original version, it was supposed to be over 5 years. And we never did it. And I think that's a failure on our part as a commission. I can take that as a failure. We made a commitment to our employees that if you worked your heart out, you did it right. GWA was a disaster. I don't know what anybody else could say. They are a disaster. When I got on this commission in 2009, we were polluting the ocean off of Agate. No two ways about it. We were polluting it every day. Not just one day, every day of the year. And when you had heavy rain events, everything went in the ocean. Because I actually talked to those people. I got on this commission, I went around to, I'm the only one I think who really realized you have 7 wastewater treatment plants on this island. Now we converted the Baza Gardens to a pump station. Now we're down to 6. And I guarantee you, nobody knows where number 6 is. I do, because I went around. I wanted to find out what we're doing. And the people who were running the station down in Agate said to me, Mr. Dueñas, on a heavy rain day, we just opened the valve. Everything goes right in the ocean. And it's taken us a long time to get where we're at. We asked a lot of our people to get here, and then we're going to tell them no. So I'm glad that the general managers are moving our people up. They need to be moved up. I commend them for that, and I exhort them to continue to make our people move up. Okay? Do it faster even. But I have to tell you that if you ask me, I would have voted yes. I would have voted for, and I did vote for the CFO of Waterworks. A valuable employee. And we lose employees. And I'm going to tell you, when you find homegrown employees like what we found, we were lucky right now to have the people we have. We're very lucky. GWA had 3 general managers before we finally settled on Miguel Bordalli. And Miguel Bordalli is the longest serving general manager that we've had to date. He's the only one that really pulled us together and got us to where we're at, where we're now negotiating a consent decree to take us into the next phase. And although we did a lot of good work in terms of the initial stipulated order that morphed into a court order in 2011, although we did a lot of good stuff, we need to realize that all the pipes in Agana need to be replaced. All the pipes all over this island need to be replaced. If you want to talk about threatening our aquifer, we have so many homes out over the northern aquifer that are on septic tanks. We need to expand the sewer system. That takes money. And I tell you, we need to have the political will to spend the money, to get the money and spend the money that we need. Commissioner Sanchez, I appreciate you speaking your mind. I also need to speak my mind. Because again, I'm going to repeat, you don't have power, no power, and we have problems. Campus 1 and 2 are going to take themselves offline. I hope this Ukadu power plant is, to me, 4 years late. We should have done it 4 years ago, but we just have a hard time trying to get the political will of everybody, okay? You don't have power, run and buy a generator. Home Depot's got it. You go to Benson, go anywhere else, you'll find a generator. But if you don't have water coming out of your pipe, I'm sorry, you got nowhere to go. There's no island, okay? The bottom line is power and water, you got an island. No power and water, there's no island. You can't do anything. You can't run the airport authority, the port authority. You won't have police protection. You won't have fire protection. How are you going to put out fire? There's no water system. So that's just my 2 cents. And I appreciate the fact that you pointed out your view, and I respect you for that. But I kind of don't agree with you, but that's okay. That's the way we are. Thank you very much. Motion to adjourn.
No,
Let's go.
I just want to also...
Sure. Express your opinion. Sure.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that all the 7 individuals that we evaluated and set a ratings, they all deserve pay raises. Just listening to them and working with them for the last, I would say, a year since I got here, they are all professionals, really, and they're strong and dedicated and committed in providing the services needed for Guam. And but it was hard also, but there are times when we have to look at whole picture of the island and make some assessments, some evaluations, and today I went and I said, okay, as much as I want to give them, let's hold off for a while and hopefully next year that we can work better to give them pay raises. But I just want to say to not only to the 7 of them, but also to the 2 couple, the Gina and Ryan and John Ray, yeah, and Lou at Counsel, and as well as all the employees. Really, thank you. I just want to say thank you for another year, and I know that you will continue to do your work because you are dedicated and committed to our people here in Guam. And that, I just want to say thank you for all the support and appreciate it. Other than that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, before you make your motion, because I want to add a little bit more too.
Okay.
I appreciate your statement.
Yeah, I wasn't going to make the motion, but I was going to ask, I know we had some discussion earlier as to what was being, and I just want to make sure we put that on the record. What did we ask the HR as well as Counsel to look into for future agenda? Can we just briefly go over that, or?
Okay.
Am I going to just heard that there was a question on who determines compensation for the assistant general managers. And while sitting here, it appears to me that a lot is silent on the GWA side, and it is very clear on the GBA side. So I need to further review our policies, and I can provide something in writing.
Yes.
To the commission.
We always want our opinions in writing. We haven't always gotten them in the past in writing, but it's something we want.
There's a drastic
Okay.
difference between them.
Okay, okay.
Further review and put it in writing.
You'll put it in writing. The two HR people, you were to look at, what did you hear?
For GWA, I am to look for the salary comparable to, for the board secretary for GWA's board duties and responsibilities. Find out just to get the market percentile relative to the salary of the board secretary
Okay.
for the GWA side.
Okay.
Correct. And on my end as well, on the board secretary, I'm going to look if her work scope encompasses, if it's to include GWA's, scope of work.
You might also want to verify whether GWA is reimbursing GPA for half of her salary. Okay? That was what I also heard Commissioner Sanchez bring up.
You can verify that.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there, do you recall anything else, Commissioner Martinez? No. Okay. Now, I just want to state one more time, I have to do this as forcefully as possible. I understand the concept of it's not the right time, but I have to tell you, our government runs like that. And PUAG, then the GWA, up until when the CCU came into play, the problem has always been that we don't have the political will to say we're going to spend the money, we're going to find the money, we're going to spend the money, we have to charge to provide the service. It goes hand in hand. You don't charge enough to provide the service degrades. Okay? Then you shouldn't complain when things go wrong. And I do appreciate, Commissioner Martinez, our employees. God, I love them. I thank them every day. You should see me whenever I'm in a room with them. I thank them for all their hard work. And I recognize them. And they're never recognized. They're never recognized. They're not considered essential. No. Police officers. In fact, in the Post, the editorial today, they're talking about teachers. Teachers, very important teachers. And said their worth is not reflected in the budget. That's what the Post said today. That's the editorial. Read it. Said the teachers should be reflected in the budget. Their worth should be reflected. And so I say, I'm sorry. At some point, you have to bite the bullet, and you have to say, this is. Otherwise, you know what? Then we sort of settle for the third world country. Then let's go back in time and let's say, okay, it doesn't matter. We had boil water notices. We don't have that anymore. We have sewer overflows. We've cut those down. So, at some point we have to wake up and we have to say, no, if you're going to provide the service, then you provide the service, okay? And you do what you need to do to provide that service. You pay what you need to pay. Otherwise, you end up with the swimming pool in Agana.
What we had before.
Well, yeah, but no, that's what we had before, the swimming pool in Agana. You end up with building a brand new crime lab because the crime lab that got built before rotted away, couldn't be maintained. I'm sorry, you need to maintain this stuff. Anyway, chair's open for motion to adjourn.
To adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much for your work.